Okay, we're going to start off by confirming that we have everything that you need on your tabletop for today. First thing that we are going to be needing is our worksheet. We're going to be doing these two, the rainbow and the technique to the candy corn. Yes, I know, it's past that. It's just a piece of candy, and it's not, yours might not even be orange, so it's just the technique, okay? You also need 2 cups of water, clean water. I threw the brush in there because I was cleaning my cup, but you don't need that brush. You need your packet of your little faces. When we do the first one, we're going to do on this face here, and then we're going to let it dry. We're going to work on this face next. By the time we're done with this third face, it's dry, and we're going to come back to this one. Does that make sense? So we'll use the first 3 faces, but just because it's wet, we're going to skip and then come back. I'll show you when we get there. You have your packet. And then your paper towels, if you choose the brown paper towels. If not, because of other paper towels are not here yet. But the 4x4 length, 4x4 facial squares work fine. I like white because I can see if my brush is clean or not. Got all your 3 brushes, okay? And you have your black. Hopefully you have black, or someone around you has black or a very dark color. A black pot. These are paint pots, okay? And then you have a new tool, new product, and a new tool that we're introducing to you today. And this is a split cake, also called cake pot. Okay, has various colors in it, and you have a sponge. Does everybody have everything? Does anybody need anything? Okay. In face painting, we have several options available to us. Nazaroo is a brand that you can get at Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Amazon. It's like the middle of the line. It's not cheap like dollar store, but it's not expensive like professionals use. So it's the middle of the line. It's a good brand, okay? Comes in single pots like this. Should you want to have, instead of having like 12 of these of one color, you can get, I'm not going to take it out of the thing here, but this is Nazaroo, and it's a whole palette. See how it looks dirty? Looks gross, like you go put that on your face? The students don't care. They didn't buy it. So why should they take care of it? It's not theirs, right? That's typically the attitude students have. They use it, abuse it, and then just leave it, and it's trash. And then the next person that uses it, or when we use it on clients, they're like, those people from CTHS don't know how to clean, right? So it makes us all look bad. So not just in class, right? Because we should have pride for our classroom and our labs and our supplies and our campus, but when you open up your makeup kit, whether to do hair, nails, or makeup, or whatever, you don't want to look, one, trashy, and your stuff is all over, there's trash everywhere, and it's all dirty looking, but you don't want to look unsanitary. You don't want to look, right? You have to make sure that everything's clean, organized, neat, it looks nice, it matches, things of the sort. So that's a palette for you. Then you have a little bit higher brand is Tag. This split cake is called split cake. Why they call it cake, I don't know. But a little patty of paint. This split cake for this brand, this single one is probably good $12 to $18 for this single pot. Maybe more because it's got 2 colors. It's a good brand. Doesn't cause allergic reactions. It's meant for the skin. It lasts long. It's strong pigmented. When you put the brush in it, it's just a good brand. Okay. You can get these at professional stores or on Amazon. Okay. This, when you run your brush over the middle of the line, you pick up both colors, and then you have that ombre effect when you transfer it to the paper of skin. Okay. Then you have your split cakes. This is Prisma. It's a really higher, it's not Prisma, Maron, I'm sorry, by Maron. This is a really, like, Hollywood uses this brand line product, okay? It's a split cake. It goes from black, red, orange, yellow to very light. I don't know if it's white or if it's actually yellow, but it looks yellow. So it could be a baby yellow. Okay. So this obviously with my small brush, I cannot possibly pick up all of these colors at once. So I need a wide sponge or a really wide brush to pick them all up at once. Okay. So these are also available. Now, could you make a split cake? Like, let's say if you had black and white in one color pot, can you pick this out and then like mold it into these? Yes, you can. People make them all the time because the split cakes are really expensive. Face painting and stuff is just really expensive. Okay, so that you have there. Then you have global. We use global. Everybody on your table, you have global. It's kind of like not something you can buy at Walmart, but not something crazy professional quality, but they come in these little compartments. You have these cake pots, you have single colors, and then you have your split cakes, whether they're a dual or they have several colors inside of them. So a palette like this and have plastic over, we try to keep the plastic on to keep them, preserve them. But it's great to have this to have a variety of options that you can do with it. Okay, so that's what you have on your tabletop. That's the new product. When students don't care, don't pay attention, don't, it's not there, so why should they take good care of it? They put too much water, and this just looks like a green pot, right? It's not. There's white and light neon green and a little bit darker green and dark green in here. Actually, I think that's black on this side. You just can't see it because somebody jabbed water into it and then just like left it and then cleaned it up. So then when you're looking for that one particular nice variant of color, you're like, oh, well, it's only green, we don't have it, and then it's not there for you, right? So please take care of our stuff so that it's there, nice, neat, and ready for you whenever it's time for you to use it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to practice, really quick. When you're practicing at home so you don't waste all of your good stuff, these little palettes, like paint by numbers, that kind of stuff? I would buy one of these and I would just practice on paper. And when I'm ready to do it on a person, then use my good stuff. So you don't waste your paint. Yeah. So I would definitely play with those. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a variation of this rainbow, just to show you the split cake technique. In this, and I don't know if you can see on paper, on the blue, the green, blue, and purple is a split cake, and you can see because it's a solid line at the top. And then the red, the orange, and the yellow are single strokes because you can see the division point at the top. So I used both techniques. I must have only had that split cake and not had a split cake for here. So can you do and combine? Yes, you can. Okay. Because if you know what you're looking for, or you know what you're looking at, you know it's right or wrong. All right. So this baby's big old forehead, like my child, unfortunately, has got mama's forehead. Poor kid. We're gonna do a rainbow over the front of the forehead. Take your clean water, and your sponge should be clean. Some of you guys have new sponges, so it might be a little dry. So we're going to pick up some water. Take your sponge and dump it into now you don't have to be as gentle with your sponge because it's a little bit more tough. But over time, sponges wear and tear, and so they'll lose their shape. So when you dip the sponge in, it's not going to absorb the water very well. So you're going to take your finger and push it against the side. Oops, don't spill it. Good job, good job. Whoop. Good job. Push your sponge against the side of the cup so that the sponge absorbs the water. And then just squeeze a little bit out if you grab too much. This is a cheap sponge, okay? So don't expect like real good absorption. If you want a good sponge, you buy the good stuff, but this is just a cheap sponge. Okay. So we're going to do, it's about the same size. Well, that's why we buy this particular size sponge. So you're going to begin by dropping off the liquid from the top of the palette to the bottom of the palette, and you're going to sweep several times. Now, hold the palette straight, parallel to the floor and the ceiling, because if you are, it's going to drip. If it's too much water, it's going to drip everywhere. So hold it straight, okay, flat. And you're just sweeping, sweep, sweep, sweep. You're going over the same line. Don't shift from right to left because you're mixing the colors. Turn your brush over, turn your palette over, turn your sponge over, depending on which tool you're using. Turn it over. and you'll see what has absorbed and what has not. If it's solid, it absorbed for the most part. If it's not, or it's got little holes, remember because it's a cheap sponge and I absorb very well. So go back, put it back in, and just press gently so that all the water don't squeeze out to pick up some paint, and then you're going to sweep. Sweep from the top, sweep all the way to the bottom, and pick everything up as much as possible. When you flip it over, like, okay, I got more coverage. Just like yesterday when we went over, or the other day we went over, what is our brush, what does the brush do? How, if I turn it, if I angle my brush and I swipe to the left, what does it do? If I swipe to the right, what does it do? What kind of, yeah, it gives you a different line, right? Different technique, right? Different things for you to draw with. Absolutely, good answer on that. So same thing with the sponge. So let's take a look at sponge. We have two sides, front and back, and then the two sides, right? So 4 total, right? Then you have this point. You can make a triangle. Then on the tippy tip, you have a straight line, which we're gonna see that in a minute. Okay. But now you have your ombre on here, and we're going to go off of this to create our rainbow. I have purple on one side and blue on the other, so I'm just going to say purple and blue, but if you have red and pink, whatever, just kind of relate, okay? We're going to go above the eyebrow of the baby, and I'm going to add some mistakes in here so I can show you how to troubleshoot if you make them. So you're going to start here. Make sure it's parallel, right? It's a nice rainbow, and you're going to push down gently, and you're going to swoop across and begin to curve and create that rainbow and go to the opposite side of the eyebrow and pick up. Oh, okay. What happened? Okay, so let's troubleshoot. Do yours and then let's see if you got some of these issues as well. As you're going, you're like, yeah, this is great. I'm going, and you're like, ooh, I missed some colors. Don't stop. Keep going. Don't, for the love of, don't stop. And be like, oh, I need to start over. No. Keep going. Do 2 coats instead of stopping and starting over, because then one section is going to have 2 layers and the rest is only going to have 1, and you're going to be able to tell because of the amount of pigment that you deposited. Okay? So this is what you might see. Here, between my blue and my pink, I've got a big old gap. That must mean that I did not load my sponge right. There wasn't enough pigment, enough color that I picked up. So I have an empty hole. So I have fixed it in a minute. The other thing, look over here. Okay, here I have a straight line because I did the tippy tip of my sponge. But here I let go and I have a rainbow inside of my rainbow, a little U shape. So we're going to go backwards. Let's fix our mistakes. There's several ways. Here's a few. What we're going to do is we're going to come in, we're going to come in backwards. But you got to match your sponge with your color. Okay? Come in with the tippy tip of that sponge, stand up the sponge to create a line, push it down, and then you guys sweep up. I forgot to reload. Oops. If you can, reload. My apologies. Reload with your brush, and then come back, do a horizontal straight line, and push, go slow, and you're going to swivel and come all the way back. Now, when you come back, you got to stand up your sponge so you got a straight line. What? What? Yeah. You had a potty face, so I didn't know if you spilled something or you just don't like the rainbow. You don't like it. It's good. It's first time. Babies don't just get up and start running, right? You got to follow a lot of time before you go get going. All right. So my second time around, I still have a little hole. You're not going to go back just to fill that little piece in, because of the ombre effect. Just go over a third time. So whatever adjustments you need to do, but you need to continue throughout the whole shape, throughout the whole design. At one point, this will begin to happen. I did my third time, but dang it. Now, I have a big old gash at the top. So I'm going to go over the 4th time and a 5th time. 1, you don't have time because you got a line of little kids that are crazy, screaming, squirrel, and the mom's staring at you like, better hurry up. Right? 2, you don't have time. Right? So whenever you're doing your designs or you're doing makeup or nails or whatever, your pinkies are your anchors. So take your pinky out, like you're sipping tea, and put it down on the tabletop. That is your anchor. So you can pivot from your pinky and make a nice curve. But you're not just moving your hand, you gotta move your arm sometimes, like open up the armpit. Okay? So instead of just going like this, you might need to go like this, right? Because it's that pivot point. You can do a perfect circle at that point. At one point, you need to tell yourself, okay, well, I'm not going to go over it again. I'm just going to leave it as is. Okay? Because you know, like when you do an eyeliner and you're trying to do like a winged eyeliner and you try to do the other one and sticker and you go back in the sticker and then you have like two black eyes? It's kind of what happens with this. Okay? So, just leave it. All right, so what we're going to do, take a look here. On your paper, you have the rainbow. We're going to pretend, because we don't have enough white, plus we're working on white paper, we're going to pretend that we have this fluffy cloud underneath each one of these bases of the rainbow. We're just going to pretend. You can use your imagination. Now there's two clouds under there. We're going to do the outline. Now if you look at our outline, you're like, okay, well, how do I do that? It's parentheses. It's 3 parentheses on the top and 3 parentheses on the bottom. You notice it's not perfect. The more perfect you try to make it, the more probability of a mistake you're going to have. So just let the brush flow. Okay, it looks more natural, it looks cuter anyway. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your round brush, okay, the round brush. It looks flat, but it's round. Pointed brush. And then you're going to take your black palette, or if your neighbor has one, pick some up from the neighbor. And pick up some water, and you're going to go back and forth, back and forth. The pointed one, not the flat one, and not the oval. It's the round one that's not pinched at the metal part. Pick up your black. It's the round pointed brush that's not crimped at the metal part. Mine's really big, but... All right, and then we're going to do it. We're going to pretend the eyebrows are not there. We're going to pretend there's a cloud. We're going to outline the cloud with 3 parentheses. So here we go. I'm going to practice first. So up here, I'm going to practice what it should look like. I'm going to do 3 parentheses on top. And then I'm going to do 3 parentheses on bottom. However you would like for it to flow. Just let your brush flow, okay? Let your brush flow. The more you like hold onto the brush and the more you try to make it perfect, the more shaky your hand is going to be and the less smooth that line is going to look, okay? Practice a second cloud on the opposite corner. Practice the second cloud on the opposite corner. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that you have the 2 white clouds on the bottom of each of the bases of the rainbows, and let's go ahead and add our cloud outline. Okay? So we have 1 here, 1, 2, 3 parentheses, and then come back and we're going to do 1, 2, and 3. Let your brush flow. Okay, let your brush flow. Put your pinky down. Now, do you remember when we did henna? And we did, well, when we did, which one? I'm trying to think. Where was that? No, that was probably nail art. Okay, no nail art. Let me show you a tip. A lot of times you want to use a brush the way you use a pencil. A brush is not a pencil. A pencil is not a brush. A pencil, the lead does not move. It's solid all the way around, and the lead doesn't move. There's not bristles that move. A brush, any which way direction you move it, the bristles move. So watch. Everybody, eyes on the screen real quick. Alexa. If I take my brush and I do this, do you see that? I get the loops, okay? A pencil will do that. When you don't pick it up, you have a perfect line. A brush, because the bristles spread, you don't get the perfect line. So you got to do section at a time. And you're on flat paper and the paper's not moving, but the little kid's cheek is round and the little kid is like doing this number, right? So you do section at a time. So you do one curve and then you do your next curve and the next curve and so forth and so on. So that way you have a good curve, okay? If you're really good, if you're really skilled at the technique, yes, you can take the brush and you can use it as a pen or a marker. But when you're starting out, remember, the bristles move. So do small sections at a time, okay? All right, so we have our little cloud that we got going on here. Now, take a look at this cloud here on the right, this right side, which I guess it's your right side. Do you see how it started really dark? At the top and the bottom, it kind of like is not very dark, kind of getting rid of the pigment. Sometimes, depending on the brush, I thought these were really like amazing. They're expensive, but they didn't come out. Quality is not that great. Sometimes you need to reload before you move on to the next section. So know your brushes. Remember, how much pigment will my brush hold? And if I'm going and going, how much can I paint before I got to reload? This one, obviously, I got to do the top and then reload and do the bottom so my lines are even, nice and thick and dark all the way through my design. Because if that's what the picture on Pinterest, look like, but then I gave the client this, they're not going to be happy for it. Okay? So keep that in mind. All right, we're going to take this and we're going to let it dry. You can take your pictures, all that good stuff. Flip it over. We're not working on the back side because the back side's wet. We're going to work on page number 2, the second sheet of paper. Okay. We're going to, just as you did with the brushes last week, we're going to explore our tools. We're going to explore a tool. What does the tool do if we swipe it in a different direction? Yeah, different style, just like the brush. Okay, what does it do if you hold it at a different angle? It gives you a different style, okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to pick up, give your sponge and give your palette to your neighbor. Give your sponge and your palette to your neighbor. You're switching split cakes. Okay? So now you have a new color, you have a new sponge, and you have a new split cake. Switch with your neighbor. All right, what we're going to do is you're going to tap your sponge into the water slightly and pick up new paints. Okay, you now have a new color, split cake, and you now have a new sponge that matches. What you need to do is find which side goes where. So this way, my split cake is upside down or wrong side up. I'm going to flip it so that it's right. You don't want to mix your colors. I'm going to dip my brush and my sponge into the water just a little bit, just to wet it and reload my sponge. Holding my palette straight parallel to the ceiling and the floor, I'm going to load, push my sponge gently, and then pick up my color. Then I'm going to watch. I did the belly part of the brush. I'm going to do the back. I'm going to flip my sponge this way. And I'm going to load on the back side of my sponge. The same way that I swept from the bottom to the top, I'm going to sweep top to the bottom. Loading my sponge on both sides. Once I'm fully loaded, I'm going to do a triangle. I'm going to pivot. So on find the lightest color that you have. It's going to be the middle. So let's say we want to do a butterfly. So you're going to take your sponge. My blue is my lightest color. I'm going to go and put the sponge down, and I'm going to pivot. My blue, my middle section is not going to stand up. It's not going to pick up. I just made a triangle. I put it down, and then I pivoted, making sure that my blue did not move and my purple went all the way and rotated. You made a triangle. I'm then going to do the other wing. So my blue is on the inside, and I got to flip it like this because I need my blue to be on the inside. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to push this down, and I'm going to pivot. My blue is in the middle, and my light color in the middle. I'm going to pick up. Oops. And there's my butterfly. My two colors from both sides are in the middle match. You could do it the opposite. It's just matched in the middle. All you did was turn your tool around to make the colors match. And all you did is rotate and pivot your tool to make the design. Okay? Now I'm going to go opposite, so I'm going to make a tie-dye effect. It's the basic technique. Now put your purple or the darkest color in the middle and fill in the circle. So opposite. Where I have blue, I'm now going to draw in the purple. So turn it around. And then go through and do the pivot. So you have purple in the middle, or the dark color in the middle, and you have the light color on the outskirts. Okay? It gives you a tie-dye effect. That's the most basic way to do it. You can go in and wiggle it and blend it and ombre it, and it makes it squiggly line, makes it look more detailed, but this is just a technique. Okay? Questions? Now we're going to create this here. It's just candy corn, okay? Now this is the same technique. It's a little bit more rounded, but it's a triangle, right? So what we're going to do, our lightest color is going to be the point, our darkest color is the base. So we're just going to do two. You're going to do two little triangles for your candy corn. I didn't reload my brush, I apologize. Okay, and you get two little triangles. Now, if you wanted to, needed to, you could use just the tip. Like, let's say if I needed my blue to be pointy, I'm going to use just, I'm going to angle and hold my tool to just use the tip. And I'm just going to curve the tip. And I'm going to curve the tip of the blue. So that way it's nice and rounded. Just using the tip of my sponge. Then I'm going to curve the bottom. So I'm going to take my purple corner. And I'm going to curve the bottom of my candy corn. You just have to be careful because this is the part where you can get all your colors mixed up. You have to be very meticulous with it. Okay? Very quickly, very quickly, dip your black liner into your brush with the black into your black color. And now you're going to do your outline. When you're outlining, you want to outline right over the top of the line of the design. Not inside and definitely not outside. So you're going to take your black and you're going to put your pinky down to stabilize your finger. Or your hand, I'm sorry. And then go over it and you're going to outline the shape with your black. Now my brush is really big, so the design should have been a little bit bigger, but it's okay. That really nice fine line is done with a thin brush. Okay? You can do the spider web. My brush is really big, so it's really designed for a bigger space. Should you choose to do children, you need small brushes. Should you choose to do body art or adults, you need bigger brushes. Okay? Questions? Okay, your 5-minute bell has